incredible Space for Earth session. Before I introduce our incredible panelists, just looking where we have one panelist that is still joining us here in a moment, but yeah, if he doesn't show up in the next couple of seconds, I think we just start and kick us off. And maybe just briefly for those that don't know me and Leaders in Purpose. First, thank you so much, Anand and the Davos Worldwide team, for bringing us here together on this global platform during COP30, convening virtually the change makers all across the world on how to build better purpose-driven businesses and really deliver with impactful solutions on what's coming next for society and humanity. And I'm the co-founder and chief strategy officer of Leaders in Purpose. We're a global leadership and economic transformation platform that equips leaders and mobilizes businesses in shaping this next economy, the 21st century economy. And we've been working for many years doing our global summits. We are a multi-stakeholder convener and launched certain initiatives that are now implemented over 27 countries. And within these initiatives and the work that we're doing, we have one stream that focuses significantly on Space for Earth, and we call it Space on Purpose. And we all know the space economy is something that is, of course, so inspiring. It's so expansive. It's the frontier. It comes with so many facets, and each of you are incredible leaders, all in your own right within that sphere. And so when we talk today a bit deeper about impact and the Space for Earth solutions that you envision are happening here right now, I would love to bring you on stage and allow each of you to introduce each other briefly. We have with us here, just short briefly, Kimberly Washington, the CEO and co-founder of Deep Space Biology and a great ally of the Space on Purpose initiative for many years. Michael Tyra, the chief strategy officer of BioAstra, and Katie King, the CEO and founder of BioOrbit with me. We also do have Gary Goldstein joining us as soon as he is in. But maybe Kimberly, just shortly, briefly to you, and then Michael and then Katie to you, 2 minutes, introduce yourself within the context of the session. What is inspiring right now and what are you doing in the space industry?
So first of all, thank you, Tatiana, for inviting me. And as Tatiana shared, I have been a supporter and ally for Leaders on Purpose we're going on now almost 6 years. And it's been really great to be a part of this organization. And I love, you travel all over the world, engaging in so many incredible events. So it's great to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So just to share a little bit about the work that I'm doing and my team at Deep Space Biology, we built the world's first AI space biotech platform called Yoda, and we had this idea roughly 5 years ago to work together with NASA, standardizing 25 years of microgravity research and to build and develop AI models that would lead to acceleration of health discoveries and research. So just to share a little bit about the International Space Station, and for 25 years, microgravity research has been a part of healthcare historically. We would not have the insulin pump, we would not have the CT scan, many of the wearables, and a lot of the different health discoveries that have been applied towards space exploration and astronaut health. This data translates back to many different diseases that have been researched in space. So microgravity provides an element of magic for research. So our cells form a 3D structure versus 2D on Earth. And many people don't realize, but we actually age faster in space. So the acceleration of research, and especially age-related research, there has been taking place for a very long time. So when we started working with this data, we recognized how incredibly valuable it was. It makes up over 80% of major diseases that have been researched in space. And our first proof of concept pilot project led us to a breakthrough discovery with Mayo Clinic. pertaining to a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. And so now we're going down the path of drug target discovery, and which is really exciting. But leveraging, space and all of this research that's taken place for Earth applications and for Earth discoveries. We're now also engaged with MD Anderson, where we'll send T cells to space on two different SpaceX Falcon Dragons to the International Space Station. And alongside that, we're super excited to share that we are in collaboration with the King Abdullah University for Science and Technology, where we are further developing our platform, but also applying both space research and our ability to work with complex data to develop these disease models for research. So, really excited to be here. And I'm also the founder of Space for Girls, a global nonprofit, really centered around bringing together both the space industry and these amazing, bright young women throughout the world who are really excited about pursuing a career in the space sector. So, thank you. And I know these three amazing folks here, so I'm really excited to share this space with you.
Oh, this is so incredible, Kimberly. We're so happy to have you with us. And Gary, thank you for joining us. We're just in the introduction round and asking each of you to introduce itself like for 2, 3 minutes, who you are before we dive into the discussion. And Kimberly kicked us off here incredibly well. And then Michael, over to you. Share with us, what are you doing right now with BioAstra and what's the mission?
Well, thank you, Tatiana. Like Kimberly, I'm grateful and thrilled to have been invited to join the panel today. I've worked with and supported Leaders on Purpose for a number of years, and Tatiana and Krista are amazing leaders within this space. And it's a pleasure to also be here with Davos Worldwide and these amazing panelists. Kimberly is one of my favorite people in the whole world. So I've been a international development and nonprofit leader for more than 15 years. Most of my career was spent in Europe and the Middle East doing work on access to education initiatives and human rights. I am, by trade, I believe, an international development and human rights person. So getting into space seemed like a little bit of a, a weird kind of transition for my career. But when I was introduced to BioAstra and their mission, it really made sense. As a professional, I look for leverage points to try to really see where you can make substantial systematic level changes to improve the lives of human beings here on Earth. And space, in particular, working in microgravity is one of the kind of the last underused leverage points that we have, with the potential to really revolutionize, as Kimberly so eloquently put it, space and health or medicine and healthcare. So BioAstra was formed as a nonprofit in 2023 by the amazing team that worked on and led the 2018 NASA Twin Study, which, if you know, was Mark and Scott Kelly, both astronauts, identical twins, one up in orbit at the ISS and one down here on Earth. And, it was transformative seeing the difference in kind of their molecular and biological makeup, between that year in space and how they differed even as twins when they got back. And it kind of kick-started all the work that we're doing in studying biology and medicine and healthcare in space. So the point of BioAstra was really to build off of that research, to expand it, and then to quickly and efficiently bring the transformational and innovative discoveries that come out of that work to markets that can actually benefit people here on the ground and to make Earth more sustainable, not just space. So we've been working for a couple of years to train up a new core of the next generation of space medicine professionals and astrobiologists. We work to incubate the technologies and research innovations that come out of our research in space. We've also developed the world's only database of astronaut multiomic genetic research and data that is just a wellspring of critical information on how we build and adapt as human beings to microgravity and increased solar radiation and what that means for drug discovery, longevity research, cancer research as we move forward. And then kind of the crowning jewel on this is that we want to do our own missions and to repeat the NASA Twin study on a much grander scale. Hopefully doing a mission to Mars or to Mars, yes, but Leo first, and then a cislunar flyby, and then hopefully to Mars and Venus with a crew of genetic twins sometime later this decade, which is the work that we're working on with Lockheed Martin and others to kind of make that possible. So I'm thrilled to be here and to talk more about a subject that I'm extremely passionate about.
Wow, this sounds, wow, what an introduction, Michael. Thank you so much. I think you've expanded right now also the horizon with Venus. So there's a lot to talk about here. Katie, please introduce yourself here to the group. We're so grateful to have you. I know you're right now in Helsinki. It's night and you're in the middle of events as well.
Oh, thank you. And so great to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be a part of this event. So yes, I'm Katie. I'm founder and CEO of BioOrbit, and we are building a pharmaceuticals factory in microgravity to change the way in which cancer treatments are given to patients. So on the ISS for the last 20 years, there have been so many areas of research and on materials and how they form differently in space versus on Earth. And crystallization is a phenomena that is better when it's done in space versus on Earth. And that can give you different quality products. So when you're crystallizing some semiconductors, it can give you higher quality semiconductors, which is why it can be better to do that in space. It can be for fiber optics as well. But when applied to the drug space, and specifically the protein space, you can form much more perfect crystals of proteins that can have different use cases. So the primary use case that we have used these crystals for is for structural determination. So we bring the crystal back down, undergo X-ray diffraction, understand that protein, and then we can do later drug development from that. But what we're doing it for is using the crystals in the drug itself. So what this enables is you can make really highly concentrated doses of cancer treatments. So all of that drug that you might have to get injected intravenously, these antibodies, through crystallizing them, you can get them into a highly concentrated dose that a patient can self-inject, just like diabetics inject themselves with insulin. So at BioOrbit, we are building the platform to mass manufacture these protein crystals so that then cancer treatments could be made into subcutaneous versions so that we don't need to travel to hospital and we can stay at home. And this is only possible now because of how space infrastructure is changing, that scale is actually possible and feasible, and that this is viable. But I'm a strong believer that we should be using space for the benefit of humankind back here on Earth, and this is one direct use case. So we have our proof of concept, our first manufacturing line going to the space station in June of next year, which is very exciting. But the grand aim will be to have lots of our manufacturing lines in space all producing these different protein crystals. So yes, it's very much using space to make new materials to impact healthcare here on Earth.
Wow. Wow, Katie, this is incredible and so important and impactful. Thank you so much for the great work that you're doing. And you already gave also some teasers on questions that will come later on the space infrastructure and why now? Why is now such a potent moment in time? But before this, Gary, please introduce yourself. You are an incredible interdisciplinary leader, cross entertainment, but also a co-creator with NASA together for the Next Floor 2040 Summit to really envision the space industry through innovation and planetary design and being right at this intersection of convening. So I would love to hear from you what brought you into that space and a little bit of your story.
Thank you, Tatiana. It is, I find myself in such exalted company, and I'm delighted to be here with everybody today. And I think this is an incredibly important topic. So thank you for having me first. My path here is anything but a straight line. I started in life as a hippie, producing music concerts for the UC Berkeley campus. But really, my first real deep dive was in the criminal justice system. I was a criminal defense attorney up in San Francisco for an underserved geography in lieu of the public defender. And That was one of the great chapters in the book of my life, but it was not a lifestyle that was suited to my temperament. So fundamentally, I love storytelling, and so I came to Los Angeles to pursue that. I did pursue that. I founded a literary management company and moved on to producing myself, and that was an extraordinary experience, and opened a lot of interesting doors. But in time, I realized that the stories that were really calling to me were not the stories from Hollywood. They were the stories of what's happening here on Earth as we look out from our planet to what's beyond. And I love technology in general. I have had the incredible pleasure of, and it really happened through investment, like through the lens of investing in what matters to me, and finding these beautiful early stage microcap companies doing marvelous, like mind-bending work. Whether it's in medical radioisotopes, Katie, we're going to need your crystals because the actinium-225 that we're producing in nuclear reactors right now has a half-life of 10 days, so it's not going to travel well. So we all need to come together and solve these problems on Earth and then export it in whatever ways we can. But I've been blessed to work with a lot of really brilliant teams across different lanes on the technology highway. And along the way, some years ago, I befriended and became very, very close working partners with the deputy administrator for the Space Technology Mission Directorate at NASA, Crystal Johnson, Dr. Crystal Johnson, who's an amazing, extraordinary mind, a visionary. And part of what we do is she asked me to sort of collaborate with her, putting together a summit, which we did. We've now put on an annual summit called Explore 2040. And the intention there was very simple. We want to showcase, unfortunately, a lot of all that you people are talking about, this brilliant work that's happening, is not well understood in the mainstream. And I think that the sense of hope and opportunity and actually being a mirror for people who might have similar aspirations is a well-kept secret. So we wanted to do it for a number of reasons. One, we wanted to basically do a summit that was an intimate environment for brilliant people to come together and describe what they're working on, find partnerships, collaborations and then also invite university campuses and college campuses to put teams forth to address some of the 187 technology shortfalls published by NASA and turn those campuses into solution engines as well. So we've had it's been a joy working on that. The Explore 2040 Summit, and we are actually putting together now. We have put together now a venture fund, Andromeda Ventures, which is again in line with everything that we're describing here, which is like the things we redefined what dual purpose is. Instead of the private sector versus government as marketplaces, we're really looking at it as what space and Earth and the partnership between the two, the energy that flows between the two, and how everything that we will invest in has to sort of pass that test and be because we like Katie said, and everybody else I think agrees, what benefits that which encourages and enhances our opportunity to explore and ultimately inhabit sustainably space, beginning with the moon, first by definition must benefit life here on Earth. And it seems to have done that consistently historically, beginning with the Apollo mission and beyond. So we're really keen on that. So between the technology companies and my collaboration, my sort of NASA adjacent collaboration on the summit and the fund, that's really what occupies me these days. And these are the stories that I think it's beautiful to be a cell in the body of such a profound story and to witness it and be and have license to talk to some of the most brilliant people, most passionate people, most motivated people on the planet who are really helping bring forward these solutions. So again, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Gary. Wow. Also, what a story and what a journey in such a complementary mix here. And I think through every one of you, you feel the purpose, the energy of the mission that is speaking through you. And each of you is working so diligently on connecting space and earth and the solutions from space for impact on earth and vice versa. I would love from you, and some of you touched upon this, have just a brief reflection. Why is particularly right now such a breakthrough moment? Katie, you mentioned briefly that there's now more infrastructure and there's more capacity, but also any other reflections that you might have here to share about why is now such a breakthrough moment and what is happening and why should really every citizen on this planet care about this, what you're doing. I'd love to hear that from you. And maybe Michael, this time, maybe I start with you.
Yeah. I am so excited about the fact that we're in a position where we have a unique opportunity to know that we're in a paradigm shifting moment as we're going through it. When you look back throughout history and the epoch changing evolutions that we as a society and global community have gone through, whether that's the Industrial Revolution, the advent of the age of sail and discovery and imperialism and colonialism, all the way up through kind of the advent of the digital age. A lot of the advancements that came out of that were done in kind of a blind space where we really didn't understand what was happening as we were going through it. And so the foresight that was not able to have had at that point was how, those um, advancements and profound changes would affect us as a species and as a society. And so we have this opportunity at the very start of what is, I think, quite obviously a transformational shift into the space economy to think quite profoundly and deeply about how we can leverage the enhanced capital and energy and business and governmental energy that's going into space and make sure that it's being done with the human being front and center, not just the profit motive. Obviously, we live in a capitalist society. Profit is important, but we have an opportunity to make sure that scientifically, politically, economically, we ensure that this isn't just about exploration. This is about ensuring that humanity can continue to thrive here on Earth. This isn't just about making Earth or humans an interstellar species or moving us off planet. We should be thinking about how the necessarily extraordinarily innovative technologies that are going to come out of enabling whether it's interplanetary travel or long-term, long duration space travel or mining and moon bases, all of that requires a level of healthcare and medical advancements and innovation that have necessarily profound potential implications for us here on Earth as we're going through major challenges, whether it's climate change and food and water scarcity, increased global conflict, rising sea levels. We need to make sure that we are proactively and thinking about how we can ensure that we are making the world better, a better place as we continue to move towards the stars. And so I'm so excited that as we get the opportunity, especially when it comes to scientific research, the opportunity to have meaningful human studies done on astrobiology and genetics and multiomics, before, you had hardly any opportunities. NASA, understandably, is very careful about the types of studies that they run and the types of equipment that they're able to bring up. The advent of commercial space travel, the um, multiplication of the amount of humans that are going into space allows us unprecedented access and the ability to scale up studies and conduct research that was just never possible before. And having the human being at the center of that, being diligent and forward thinking about what we're trying to solve and what we possibly could solve for in space makes this an extraordinary time to really be looking at space health and space medicine as a transformative moment for us as a species.
Thank you, Michael. Excellent. Thank you. We couldn't agree more, and we'll share in a moment also sometimes what we hear from the Leaders on Purpose leadership ecosystem. But Katie, I'd love to invite your reflections on what was just said and from your perspective.
Yes, I think it's really exciting about the number of astronauts that will be going into space and also their health backgrounds as well. It's like a very different health base rather than the creme de la creme, which are the NASA astronauts and ESA astronauts, etc., who are peak fitness. We're going to have a wider range of health conditions going into space, and that all needs to be tested to make sure everyone's safe. And I think I mean, from my side, I get really excited about the non-human side in terms of what experiments can be done from an automated perspective. And this is regarding, so yes, we will have commercial space stations coming in, but we will also have a lot of these re-entry satellites. So these are satellites that you can fill with your automated experiments. They orbit for however long before returning. And I think this really opens up an exciting opportunity because a lot of the science experiments that are run on the space station, we're very limited because it has to be safe around the astronauts. So you're limited in terms of the chemicals that you can use, the temperatures that you can get to, because it has to be the utmost safety. But now that we're switching to these re-entry capsules, or not switching to, but they're coming into play, science is going to get really exciting again. We can use lots of different dangerous chemicals. We can use high temperatures. It's all automated because the humans aren't going to be there. So I think we're going to come across so many more exciting findings that we were limited to previously. And again, that will be fundamental research. Some commercial applications could come from it. So I think that it's very exciting that what these different bits of infrastructure will unlock.
Wow, that is fascinating. And it's something also new for me that I have just heard. And of course, within the AI-powered world, and this is also one of the ways Kimberly went into the space, like the ability to really bring together the human and the non-human, the artificial and the human intelligence together here and increase capacity through that is such a beautiful and powerful example that I think is also very, very needed right now to be heard in the world of the opportunities of that. My amazing co-founder and I, we just came out of an AI Stanford workshop with AI leaders, and where we touched upon these questions, right? Where are we going human centric? Are we going data centric? Where is our future going to be? But Gary, maybe from you, your reflection, witnessing it from your perspective, why is now such an incredible moment of breakthrough, and what capacities are being unlocked that we just didn't think before would be possible?
Oh my gosh. Well, I think so much that's in front of us we haven't ever been able to imagine because technology wasn't available to us at this level. But I'm a devout optimist. And I do agree, and I think it's really imperative that we have, a very clear bias, a human-centric bias as we move forward in all these areas. But I think now we do have the opportunity if we look back historically at all the benefit that humankind has experienced because of space exploration, starting with Apollo, the computer chips and MRIs and CT scans and water filtration systems. I mean, all sorts of GPS, the things that we take for granted these days. And I think that that's just going to escalate, with all and certainly all of the Earth observations technologies that are starting to come online that will allow us to understand and be scientifically a little bit more astute about how to solve some of these climate related changes, monitoring farmlands, et cetera. But I really think that to me it's very exciting, the idea of being able to source essential minerals for benefit here on Earth as well as beyond to even down to the immersive technologies that we're seeing in entertainment and gaming, because mental health is going to be a big issue as we start to send people into space for extended periods of time. But I think the areas that really excite me are environmental and medical. Those I think there are so many other areas. Propulsion is a really exciting area. There's so many, but it's I just think that we're at the precipice of something that wasn't available to us throughout our evolution. our history, certainly as a country, but as a globe. And again, I think if more people understood that space was really almost a reflection of how we improve life here on Earth, I think that would be, especially the younger people who are in high school and going into college and making big life choices right now. I think this is the most exciting area one could choose to be in.
Yeah. Yeah, excellent. Gary, thank you so much for this reflection and talking also about the role of youth. And as we know, Anand, who joined us here briefly, who's hosting here Davos Worldwide for all of us, has also invited a lot of youth representatives to be part of this convening, so we can really share the story more stronger. Why is the space economy? Why is this so exciting? And Kimberly, you've been doing this with Space for Girls incredibly all over the world. Maybe over to you, Kimberly, from your side, from your reflection, why is now such a huge breakthrough moment from your perspective?
I feel really blessed to be a part of this new space economy as well. We truly are living through and experiencing and participating in a golden age. And, this new space economy, soon to be valued globally around 2 trillion, is rapidly growing. There's so many opportunities right now. And, if you can dream it, you can be it. And with AI and participating in artificial intelligence, both in the space sector as well as touching the biotech industry, right now, all of these industries are being, I hate using the word disrupted, but, experiencing massive amounts of change and opportunity, and when we talk about, I just want to touch on a couple of things in the healthcare sector, why we need to do better. Bringing a drug to market traditionally is a 10 to 12-year investment with on average, $2 billion investment with a 90% failure rate. And humans are getting sicker. Diseases are rapidly evolving. We have new conditions and diseases that did not exist 5 years ago. And the industry needs to be turned upside down. And I think with AI, and also with leveraging space, we're seeing that happen. And we're seeing change and breakthroughs happening at scale, at a rapid speed. And we're going to continue to see that. This is really exciting to me. And in the space sector, and we have a lot of young people on this call, I really like to promote the opportunities in space. You don't have to be an aerospace engineer. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. This is a brand new industry, and there's so many things that we need, innovation. We need to cultivate more entrepreneurs. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, started my first company at 24, and I continued going, and always in the health and wellness sector. My mission, I have 2 missions. My mission regarding large population health and actually helping people to be better and to prevent disease and, prevent poor health. And at the same time, I am one of 6 daughters. I have a big family of sisters, and I have 2 daughters. And leaving this planet a better place, actually the universe, because we're going to discover our own planets that will be invite only. I'm just joking. But leaving this planet a better place for all women, and it is so exciting with the work of Space for Girls. We have young women in 15 different countries worldwide, including Saudi Arabia and Jordan, other parts of the Middle East and Latin America. And in particular with Saudi Arabia, women just began to start driving in 2017. I celebrate the change of the 2030 vision led by His Royal Highness MBS towards a a new economy that is 50% led, more than 50% led by women. And so it's very exciting to work with the women in countries like Saudi Arabia, where they've gone from 0 to 100 so quickly, and they have so many opportunities available, but cross-culturally bringing women together that are excited about space, that want to pursue careers in this industry. And we need to have more doors open. We need the new space economy and, these traditional space companies actually looking at women not only from a gender perspective, but from an intelligence perspective. And it's about human capital. It's about unleashing a level of intelligence that's been held back. That's what I'm most excited about. We're seeing in science so many breakthroughs and discoveries, and it's so exciting. So exciting to celebrate the win. By the way, Katie, congratulations on your recent award with ESA, celebrating you. But celebrating women who are really pushing the boundaries that have held, this level of intelligence back for some time. So that's where I think these awesome, and if I can say badass breakthroughs are going to come, is the women being supported by men like you, Gary and Michael. I know both of you very well, and you celebrate, the intelligence in the sector and beyond. And so that's what I'm most excited about. I see science transforming, and this is truly a golden age, and we are all so blessed to be a part of this and building together. So thank you, Tatiana.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Wow, here's to the women and the men that are supporting this transition, right? And I think we can take it to a broader level, like leadership, more intelligence, more distributed intelligence in leadership, right? Male, female together. And it's fascinating how studies really show. And there's like a Harvard professor that joined us in our summit this year, showed actually very clearly how then the complementary mind of the male intelligence and the female intelligence can really deliver breakthrough solutions. And so if we need science to prove it, we have the data too. I think all of you have touched and said what we're all feeling. And Gary, we also had sometimes these conversations together. Humanity really is right now at the fork where we literally are writing what is coming next because of the technological innovations, because of the connectivity that we're experiencing, and the ability to actually create industries, create markets, and create solutions. And something that also came up in our leadership circles that we're hosting globally within our Leaders on Purpose network was really about the skill as a leader to step into this role and to architect markets and therefore be creator instead of just a follower of a trend, right? And holding the pen, right, Gary, in writing the script, because maybe this, I mean, if we think about artificial intelligence and Gen AI and super Gen AI, which is coming our way, maybe now is the only time that we humanity will actually have this ability to write it from our perspective, until more intelligence will join us, right, for all possibilities and hopefully for the best possibilities to come. And so if we're looking right now where the space industry is and at the opportunities, we do know, though, there are still some challenges, right, or opportunities to step into, for instance, from an investment perspective or a policy perspective to really unlock further development, healthy growth of businesses to really attract more capacity, and also for regions and countries and cross-country, creating opportunities for education to be part of this economic sector that is coming our way. I would love for each of you to touch upon what some of the challenges are that you're experiencing and what opportunities could be unlocked through policy and investment, as we also have a very strong investment and policy group here in the audience. And maybe this time I'll start, Katie, with you.
Sure, and big question, lots to say. So I would say on the policy and regulation side, we're working in pharmaceuticals production. that will all need to be regulated according to like different pharmaceutical regulatory bodies like the FDA, EMA, MHRA, etc. I think that there's so much regulation that's required for then re-entry of the infrastructure of the re-entry capsules that has not been streamlined yet. So it's a very slow process, which is then limiting the commercialization aspect because you have to apply for a license for every single capsule rather than just, oh, we're flying the same thing 10 times. Is that just can we just get the one license? So there's a lot of work that needs to be done there. But I would say policy wise as well, I think one thing that's going to be really critical across everything in the space industry is that in like the international play, because it's not that you can have end to end all with just one country, one jurisdiction. You're going to have so many countries playing together, maybe one company from one country launching from another, landing in another country and then transporting it back. What's export control going to look like? Whose jurisdiction does it fall under? And I think there's a lot of work that's going to need to come there to streamline it and make sure that we as a species of planet Earth can benefit from these through streamlining that. And then just on the education piece as well, this is, and I know Kimberly will definitely have a lot to say about this. But it's so critical. We are entering a brand new era of the space industry, and if we don't talk about it to the youngest generation, when they enter the workforce, the industry is going to look completely different to how it does now. So we need to prepare them for what we think it's going to become to give them the best shot at being the future leaders. So I think I would love to see more go into that, go into education.
Excellent, Katie. Thank you so much for sharing that view. Michael, over to you on your reflections.
Well, I think that there's about 5 or 6 different things I could go into extreme depth on here. But I think one of the most important is going to be how we communicate the importance of space. But I think that Gary and Kimberly and Katie are already going to go into a little bit more depth than me on that area. So what I'd like to talk about, and I hope it doesn't overlap with a future question, but capital, I think, is going to be huge. Everyone assumes that, and rightly so in some areas, that we're seeing a massive influx of private capital into the space industry. But we need to make sure that it's being mobilized for the right reasons and for I think sometimes non necessarily traditional market opportunities. So taking BioAstra as an example, we are a nonprofit and we are trying to do transformational moonshot research to transform the medical industry. But that's not cheap. Doing our own missions, as you can imagine, is an extremely uh, costly and time costly endeavor. And we need to have a ecosystem of funders that are willing to work together, public-private partnerships with governmental funders, to address the challenges that we are trying to work on. So whether it's sustainability, providing access to healthcare in remote and underserved regions, innovative approaches to drug discovery and cancer research, all of these things require huge amounts of money and don't and have extremely long sometimes horizons on ROI. We need funders who are willing to fund for legacy. We spin out and are continuing to spin out very exciting technologies that will have a more traditional ROI, and we're of course, wanting funders that are interested in that. But we also want funders who are willing to take a chance on our work that, is a little bit more fuzzy, but could change the world. If we're able to do um, our our missions to the moon and to Mars and to acquire this data, which has never been done. Nobody's ever done human research in deep space and microgravity. It could be and will be transformative, but we need funders who are willing to step up and say, for the future survival and ability of humankind to thrive here on Earth and to deal with challenges that we are facing and will continue to face at a greater amount as climate change takes effect. We need to have people who have the vision to say, this is something that we need to spend money on now. And we need an ecosystem of funders who are willing to help scale those projects. So that's, I think, the biggest challenge, but also the greatest opportunity that we're facing within the space industry, specifically within space health and space medicine research.
Thank you, Michael. That almost bears the question, and I think, right, Kimberly, in our space on purpose discussions of this initiative some time ago, we're thinking, does maybe the space economy run on an absolutely new paradigm, right, which just has to operate differently to enable things in a different way? But Kimberly, over to you on your reflections on these challenges and opportunities of our time right now in the space industry.
Well, first of all, thank you, Tatiana. And, the mission of Leaders on Purpose and the Space on Purpose uh, track that we've been building for the past, 6 years, it's really been anchored around bringing people together and convening leaders that actually care, that want to share knowledge, that want to collaborate. With our work as an AI space biotech company, we are advocates for open science and really democratizing access to important data. And the work that we did with NASA for 4.5 years, standardizing the entire NASA Gene Lab repository, we recognize that even though we have these beautiful public available repositories, they're not actually available to all. And unless, you have a double PhD in data science and biology, are you able to access and work with this data? So I want to just acknowledge, I have an incredible partner, Dr. Imed Galuzzi, who runs the Biosciences Center and is the chair of the Smart Health Center of Excellence at the King Abdullah University for Science and Technology. We have been building together or further developing our platform, Yoda, but with a focus around bringing together data partnerships. And we recognize, so there is now a partnership between NASA Ames and CAUS that's being formed. But underneath that, I believe that, we can bring together at scale important healthcare data that is going to actually move the needle on breakthrough discoveries quickly. And now with AI, if we have the data that is shared, ESA has data, NASA has data, and I'm referencing health microgravity research data, the Japanese Space Agency, and so on. This research is incredibly valuable and can actually help humans on Earth and lead to more and more breakthrough discoveries. But we have to come together to benefit humanity for these discoveries. And traditionally, in the biotech space and biopharma space, this research is held so tightly because we're going to discover a drug that is going to be valued at billions and billions of dollars and make our transform our company valuation to a whole nother scale. Look, we can make money and we can also save the planet at the same time, but do it with intention and as leaders on purpose, right? So data is a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. And I see a future with and maybe this is a bridge between US and Saudi Arabia, beginning a data embassy, coming together and sharing. We have to do better. And I think we can start in the healthcare sector, but that applies across all sectors. And we can no longer be as humans, we can no longer focus on the profit. It has to be purpose first, as you and Chris, Tatiana have preached for many years. So it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity. So, and look, if you want to share data, let me know or reach out. And right now, I think, the space microgravity research, that BioAstra has been a part of, and Katie, your company. There's so much that we can do together collaboratively. So, but yeah, it's an exciting time for sure.
Mhm. Thank you so much, Kimberly. And thank you also for shining light on the data aspect, which, of course, in this age of AI is so significantly, right? What comes in, that gets out. And and also the more that we understand and trust the data, and there's a transparent understanding of the value of data and even the value of the data of the personal, right? We really will increase our economy through sharing, to your point. And I think there are very, very exciting models there that can be leveraged going into this direction. So thank you so much for sharing this within this context. And Gary, from your perspective, from your investment head perspective, but also from your perspective of bringing together around these solutions or shortfalls or challenges of NASA that you have mentioned, and you're convening around it and explore. What is right now needed to really advance the space industry from an opportunity perspective, but really from right now also a challenge perspective? Oh, and you're muted, so you need to unmute yourself.
That would help. I think, Tatiana, what you and Krista have done and are doing with Leaders on Purpose really lives at the center of it all, right? A sense of purpose and a shared purpose on a global level. Right now, I think, we've barely seen the tip of the iceberg. The space economy is such a new creation. And as Kimberly said, I think it's just going to flourish dimensionally in ways we can't even imagine yet. And so I think that, one of the challenges is we tend to be creatures of habit, we humans. And that includes the financial community, the VCs, the family offices. A lot of the conversations I'm having, everyone's so focused right now on AI, which is wonderful. But there's a reticence, there's also a learning curve. So that people understand why they should be investing in and what they should be investing in, how to, and learn that new language, because space is a different language, right? And how it relates to Earth benefit. So there's a lot of complexity to it. And I think that getting over that hurdle and recalibrating the financial, the availability of investment money for a lot of these scrappy young companies. I mean, 20 years ago, we had a scrappy little company called SpaceX, and look what it's done for us, right? So I think that's a big piece. I think the regulatory piece that Katie started to mention it's not my area of expertise, but I see it as a really significant unfolding. It's challenging, but I think that we need to have a better understanding of how we're going to explore space. And this is not, one of the things I think is also, it's an interesting part of the conversation. This is not, the space economy doesn't belong to a few large companies. It's a global reality, a global consciousness, and a shared purpose. And, we've just seen recently 18 African nations have launched satellites. We see small countries having very compelling reasons to be a part of this conversation, even unlikely as it may seem. Recently Malta, Gambia, Cote d'Ivoire, Myanmar, these countries are all becoming part of this global conversation. And I think we need to be very inclusive in that sense. I think one of the things that I notice it is that as it really has to do with cooperation, collaboration, information sharing between government, academia, and the private sector. And in my view, the private sector has been habituated to privacy and to trade secrets and to not being terribly open source minded. That's a newer idea. Yet as budgets, government budgets are reduced, it sort of privatizes this space-related innovation, and thus the greater our need for, if I can just put it this way, for more conscious leaders, for public benefit corporations rather than shareholder-driven decisions, for and to encourage what Kimberly was talking about. Like, we really need to invite youth into this conversation in the most pragmatic, real sense, and not just have it be flowery words. I think the I have to say that the space is such a delicious thing, and look what it did when we first had the Apollo mission. It brought together this country and the world in a way, and I think that there's an element of that. Not to be too prosaic, but I think we have to embrace the wonder of it all and the opportunity that's in front of us, and stay curious and be much more collaborative than we ever have been, I think, from a business perspective. There's so much more, but anyway, I'll stop there.
There is so much more, Gary. Absolutely, and it is one of those examples that has brought humanity closer together and showed collaboration can happen in ways that was maybe unimaginable. And now, for the last 3 minutes that we have here together, what we see in our network, and I mean, this is one of the reasons why we also say we bring together those leaders that are shaping the next economy. These are leaders that today know what will be of value in this future economy that's upon us, and can build the bridge and are creating the businesses that operate now, but can also operate in the tomorrow and thrive massively in the tomorrow, because this is what we believe in the future economy is and will be. If there is and the space economy is such a great example, because it's one of those examples where it is so clearly shown already now that this economy really only grows if it goes cross-country, cross-collaboration, cross-silos, because then actually the full potential is and will be leveraged. And I think this is something that connects to this prosaic vision, that in its inherent capacity, this economy, even in the old economic paradigm, can really only grow and grow shareholder value if there is a way more collaborative mindset there and heart set. And this makes it a very fascinating time, I think, for our global leadership and to be part of this interesting shift. Having these last now 2 minutes here with you, I would love just each of you, just a very brief reflection to the audience who are listening. If there's like one action to take or one advice that you can give to the listeners to understand more about the space economy, to feel into this, what would be one of those comments or advice that you would give? And maybe I start this time again with Kimberly.
Thank you, Tatiana. Coming back to what Katie was mentioning earlier, education. We, as leaders in the space sector, need to pay attention to what we can do to engage the younger generation. When I was growing up, we watched, all of the Challenger launches, and there were mass assemblies, and space was a part of what we were learning. There were so many NASA-led missions happening. And I feel, now that the space economy is growing, it's become very much commercialized with the partnership of NASA, and the other space agencies are taking the same approach. We need to scale our outreach and awareness and engagement with younger people, and bridging. The beautiful thing about space is when we leave this Earth's atmosphere, there are no borders, there are no barriers, and space is something that connects all of us. This is something that we each have come into this world and have inherited. So when we look up, the stars belong to all of us. So raising awareness, educating, this is our future workforce. And if they don't know what's happening at the scale and the speed that it's happening, they will be left behind. And we will have these amazing, innovative companies that we are not able to grow because we don't have the workforce interested and engaged. So, yeah, education is imperative. And we have to do this in a united front worldwide.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. Thank you. Katie, a very brief, short reflection. We already are a little bit over time, so maybe just a brief comment from you, Gary and Michael.
Yes, I'd say for me, it would be investing in the next, like the commercial parts of space. So not just the infrastructure, but the applications of it, so that we can build a like in-orbit economy. That would be my wish.
Yes, thank you. Gary.
Unmute. I would say it's really, I mean, these are all beautiful comments, and I agree. And for me, a lot of our mission, certainly through the Nextplorer Summit, which stands for the Nexus of Exploration, is to have and really encourage a lot of cross-discipline, cross-domain collaborations and that not just domains, but from marrying entrepreneurs to big corporations, unlikely partnerships, sharing of information, and very necessarily, our wish in the coming year is to actually go global and start to invite university campuses and college campuses from literally across the globe to become part of this solution engine conversation, which is the bridge into not only solutions, but giving the youth pragmatic opportunity to jump in the game, and get a toehold. So I'd say, I'm on the youth bandwagon, I guess.
Excellent, excellent, and so important and so exciting also for our youth. Michael, take us home.
I would like to leave the audience with the realization that it's not a given that the future space economy will work towards the benefit rather than the detriment of humankind. We have a very short window of time, and the change makers and the funders and the leaders on this webinar, as well as those you work with, have a very small chance to shape the character of the global space economy. And so I encourage everyone, as you're making business decisions and collaboration decisions and financial decisions, to keep the human being in mind and make sure that we're investing in systems and solutions and partnerships that will help to ensure that humanity thrives here on Earth, as well as increasing its ability to go further out into the stars.
Excellent. Wow. Thank you all so much for this incredibly inspiring panel. I'm so grateful you all took the time. And yeah, it's just it's a truly blessing to be part of this conversation. And thank you also for Anand and the Davos Worldwide team for hosting us all here, and wishing you all a great rest of the day. And we'll share about more next steps, how the audience can engage with each of you, so that this discussion can really continue to live on.
Thank you so